One of the things I like in the used book business is I never know from one day to the next what I'm going to be coming across.
We're kind of like a museum, except everything in here has a price. We are willing to sell everything. A lot of people will come in and say, "Oh, I remember the store when I was at MSU. It's been forever." That's probably our biggest thing. Or we'll get a lot of students who walk by the store and say, "Oh, this is so great, I love this place." And they'll walk out with a stack of books for maybe $5, and it's a great deal for everybody. I have the most fun with everybody who walks in.
It is really comforting to walk in because, you know, it was something that I felt even before I started working here, but it's like the more time that I spend here, the more at home you feel, I guess. And yeah, it's just joy. Ray is unbelievably knowledgeable about books. I mean, it's like he can just pick one up and it speaks to him.
He is absolutely a character, which everybody here is. You work in a bookstore, everybody's a character.
And I didn't really plan on getting into the used book business. I started when I was a student at Michigan State. I decided to run a classified ad saying I was interested in buying science fiction paperbacks. And I bought 1,000 science fiction paperbacks for $100. And all of a sudden I was in the used book business. In some ways I feel I'm a preserver of a heritage. I can also relate sometimes to the new generation, which is not, it's not a generation of collectors yet, but we go through trends and there's all sorts of different varieties of things. We're kind of an eclectic place. There's not a whole lot of used bookshops that have the wide variety of things that we do.
The atmosphere here is like no job that I've ever had before.
A lot of the times working in a used bookstore, there's not only the story in the book itself, but there's a story behind the book, like how we got them, who they came from, and then we have our Dracula, first British edition Dracula for $10,000 with a blood drop on the front, which that's just the coolest story I think of the shop.
There's something that a book can bring you that's more personal and more self-led and self-motivated of a story than something else that's more of a presentation of a story for you to absorb.
It wasn't my original plan to get a job in a used bookstore, but after walking down the street and seeing Curious and falling in love with it, I wanted so bad to have this job.
It was an interesting way. I figured I'd try it for a while, and here it is 44 years later, and I'm still doing it. So it's a very pleasant way to make very little money.